Greetings viewers, I am Eric the Car Guy, and if you watch this channel you know that I start things off with, hey, if it's your birthday, happy birthday. Please enjoy this digital cake. And this one was sent to me by a viewer. Thank you. Today we're going to talk about spark plugs. I was having a conversation with a group of my car friends the other day, and there was some, well, I don't want to say disagreement, but there were a lot of different opinions on how to handle spark plugs. So I thought I'd make today's video about, well, at least how I handle spark plugs. I'm getting a lot of this information that I'm presenting to you today from two places. One, my years of experience working on cars and engines and such, but also more importantly from NGK's website. They had a lot of useful information on this. So why don't we start off with what started the conversation between me and my friends, and that was using anti-seize on the threads of spark plugs. This is something I never do. And the reason is, the main reason I don't do it is because I've never seen it do anything but create a mess. Now I know there are some engines, in particular some Fords, where the spark plugs pretty much weld themselves inside the cylinder head and require, well, an act of Congress to come out. Now in those situations, yeah, I can see where the application of anti-seize would be advantageous, but that's a design flaw, is what I'm going to call that. But still, you're compensating for a design flaw. But in general practice, I don't use anti-seize on the threads of spark plugs at all. And like I said, all I've seen it do, it really is create a mess. I haven't seen it made the removal of spark plugs any easier. What I do, and what you've probably seen me do, is a little drop of motor oil on the threads, and that's it. Just a little drop of motor oil, I install the plugs. Now this does not make it so that the spark plug becomes easier to remove or doesn't seize inside the cylinder head. It really just makes it install a little bit easier, at least in my view. But that's all I've ever done to spark plugs when I've installed them. The next thing I want to cover is gapping spark plugs. Now, in practice, yeah, you really should gap spark plugs whenever you install them to make sure they're at the proper gap. And to find that out, you consult with your vehicle service manual. But to be honest, I rarely, if ever, gap spark plugs. And the main reason for this is because I use mainly NGK or nip and denseless spark plugs, and when these things come new in a package, they have a sleeve over the outside to protect this electrode. Now I'm not saying that package couldn't have still gotten dropped, or somebody could have removed it from the package and then dropped it on the floor. Or I've done this, when you drop it down inside, like say a cylinder head where the spark plug is down inside the cylinder head, I've actually had occasion where I've bent the electrode on the end and caused a misfire by doing that. So whenever I'm inserting spark plugs down inside of a deep recess inside of a cylinder head, I hang on to it for as long as possible on the way down. In fact, you could even put like a little piece of vacuum line on the back of these. This is like a nice little tip for these things. If they're in difficult to access areas, you could take a little piece of vacuum hose and put it on the end of this and use this to turn these into those hard to reach areas, including the one I just mentioned. But getting back to gapping the spark plugs, normally what I'll do when I get a set of spark plugs, I used to do this more, and I'll be honest, I do it less. I just give like a cursory glance and I'm like, oh, okay, that looks about right. And most of the gaps that I've seen on Hondas are 1.1 millimeter. Anyway, a good way to check that I use is just taking two spark plugs and putting them up next to each other like this. And if I see something that's equidistant, I'm good with that. And if it's equal across the board, I'm also good with that. Now, one of the reasons that I do not, and I'm trying to find one here, here's one. One of the reasons why I avoid gapping spark plugs, and NGK talks about this as well, this is an iridium spark plug. These spark plugs retail for $17 to $20 some a piece. And if you've got a 6-cylinder, well, do the math, it adds up. Anyway, the iridium that's on the tip of this electrode, do you think that whole electrode is made of iridium? No, they just put a really thin coating on there. And when you insert a tool like this and pull it in and out, you can actually chip that coating right off of that spark plug before installation. You know, there are things that are happening here on a microscopic level, and I try to avoid messing with that. That's why really, I just eyeball the gaps on my spark plugs and call it good. Now, some of you may be mad about that, whatever, and you insist on gapping spark plugs, and I'm not gonna tell you that you're wrong in doing that. But I've done this practice for years, and like I said, I avoid it because I don't want to mess with the coating on the ends of these spark plugs. Should you torque spark plugs? According to NGK, yes. Spark plug torque is critical to their operation, according to them. How many spark plugs have I torqued? exactly 0 in my career that spans more than 25 years at this point. Am I doing it right? You know, I say I didn't cause a problem, other than that time that I mentioned where I bent an electrode. But there is a torque spec out there. However, the rule of thumb is this. If the spark plug has a gasket, like this one here, this one has this gasket that you can see. If there's a gasket, run the spark plug down till it's snug, and then turn it 1/2 to 3/4 turns past height. So in other words, snug it up, it stops, 1/2 to 3/4 of a turn, and you're done. If there is no gasket and there's more of a conical shape here for the sealing surface, with those, you run those down tight and then another 1/4 turn. Or I should say, you run them down snug and then go another 1/4 turn. As I said, NGK's got some torque specs. I'm going to put a link in the description to that, along with the information that they provided about using things like anti-seize. NGK does not want you to use anti-seize on their plugs at all. I think part of the reason is because it's conductive and you can actually short out a spark plug. It's going to be hard to do, but it's one of the things I said. For me, like I said, it just makes a big mess, so I avoid it. Here's another one for you. Remove spark plugs on a hot or a cold engine. Personally, I like to remove them and replace them on a cold engine. And after reading through the literature from NGK, they agree with me. Whenever the engine gets hot, the metal expands. And unlike when you're, say, heating up a bolt or a nut to loosen it up, you know, with a torch, what can happen is that whole engine has expanded around the threads of the spark plug, and the only times I've ever had spark plug issues are when I've removed them while the engine was hot. That's my personal experience with this. So I've gotten in the habit of trying to work on a cold engine rather than trying to remove spark plugs from a hot engine. That's been my personal preference. And those friends that I was talking to the other day, there was one of them that disagreed with that and removed plugs on a hot engine. And I'm not going to say that that's wrong. I'm just letting you know that in my experience, and according to NGK, they would prefer that you do spark plug service with the engine cold. So here's a little high performance tip about spark plugs. This is extra credit for the rest of you. Now, in some high performance applications, like very high performance applications many times, what they want to do is they want to index the spark plug to be in an exact position down inside the cylinder head when they tighten it down. So what they'll do is they'll take like a marker and mark right in line where the electrode is, so that when they tighten it down, they know that the electrode is in line with that, and then they can turn it in so that it's properly positioned within the combustion chamber. What about multi-electrode spark plugs and things like that, Eric? Have you tried those? I haven't used them all that much. I've mostly worked on Hondas, and I stick with what the manufacturer tells me to do. I find, particularly with Hondas, the ignition systems, particularly on the older ones, were somewhat sensitive, and if you used other parts, they would sometimes cause issues. So I haven't really used some of those other spark plugs that have multiple electrodes and things like that. I understand the premise behind them, but I just think if you have a good solid ignition system and good plugs at the proper heat range, well, then you should be okay. I'm going to wrap this up. I threw a lot of information at you, and I hope I covered everything, and maybe I didn't. And if I didn't, well, that's what comments are for. Comments will also be down there for you to let me know how you handle spark plugs in those different scenarios and things that I mentioned during this video. I'd love to hear what you have to say about it. Everybody does things differently, and that's okay. I will also put in the description a link to that NGK article or articles that covered many of the things that I talked about in this video if you want to see that stuff for yourself. The description will also have additional information, that kind of thing, so check the description for additional stuff. If you have automotive questions, I ask you head to ericthecarguy.com. Also linked in the description. Yep, you guessed it. That's going to wrap it up for me today. Thank you so much for watching. Be safe, have fun, stay dirty. I'll see you next time.